Good morning.
Good morning.
It's Friday. So we're a little bit silly today, I guess.
She does her pre-video warm-up and getting those red
Cherry
rosy cheeks.
Yes. So, anyway, good morning. I'm Kim Spillers.
And I'm Frank Spillers. Welcome to Rural Community Solutions TV live stream, where we talk about how you can think like an entrepreneur and become a spark plug. Because as you start to build your communities, you want to support an entrepreneurial economy. And we help communities design family-friendly, youth-centered places that attract the people that you want. So this is all about, it's not about the physical building, it's about the people building within your community and how you build that environment that people want to become. And today,
this week is National Entrepreneurship Week. And so to close off our week of interviews, we are so excited that Amara Kniep is going to be joining us. So if you're interested in youth and how to get them engaged in your community and all kinds of activities and things like that you could learn from, you come back in just a few minutes. We'll be right back with you.
Let's talk with Amara shortly.
Picture, if you will, the pure, raw prairie. No wires, no fences, no roads. Not even a farmhouse, no sign of civilization. This is what a person saw that was crossing the prairie in a wagon more than 170 years ago. They jumped off the wagon, looked around, and declared, "This is where I want to settle and build a town. A great place to live and a great place to raise my family." So they took a risk. They built a house made out of the land, planted food to eat, and cared for the land. Then they wrote back to their friends where they came from and described the great opportunity and promise that they have found. They invited who they knew to join them in their discovery, people they had a relationship with, and so they came, family by family, and those families invited others they knew who they wanted to live with within that community. The communities grew because the needs of the families grew, so entrepreneurs started businesses to meet those community needs. Ice houses, broom factories, general stores, and many other types of sole proprietor entrepreneurial businesses started up within the community. All of our communities across this country, all around the world, were started in this way, with a vision of the future and a plan to grow with people.
One of the places we always want to grow as communities with people is with our youth. And so today we are thrilled that Amara Kniep has joined us from Network Kansas. And we are just so grateful that you're here, Amara. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited to have our conversation today.
So you're with Network Kansas. You have been in workforce development, the Kansas Department of Commerce, economic development. You've been with Network Kansas for more than 7 years. Tell us a little bit about what you're doing now with Network Kansas.
Yeah, I'm happy to. So at Network Kansas, we have something called the E-Community Partnership, where we do a partnership, a deep dive with select communities across the state. And they get access to a couple different things. One of those is what we call board certified programs, which are a suite of educational programs that our board has approved for us to provide grant funds and support to the communities for. So my specific role is the manager of e-community programs. So I oversee all of those programs across the state of Kansas.
How many is that these days?
So far we have 5 board certified programs. And I can, if you want, I can give kind of a brief overview of what those are. And we also work with communities on what we call pilot programs, which are just, initiatives that they may have come up with or experimental things that they're trying out.
That would be great. And one of the things I was wondering in just kind of doing some prep work is board certified. I'd like to know how your board, what kind of criteria that involves also, if you could speak to that.
Sure. So we look for programs that are obviously promote and educate on entrepreneurship and are things that we can scale across the state that we can make available to any entrepreneur across the state. And so I'll just kind of go through a brief list of what we have. We have 5 programs, and most of them focus on existing businesses, one for startup businesses, one for maker spaces, and then another program for youth, which I'll get into more a little later. But for existing businesses, we have a program called Growing Rural Businesses, which is a partnership with Wichita State University, focuses on existing businesses and how those can be grown and scaled in rural communities. We also send entrepreneurs to a program called Destination Boot Camp, which is a boot camp, normally takes place in Colorado, but obviously has been virtual this past year with the COVID pandemic. And that focuses also on existing businesses. We also support the Ice House Entrepreneurial Mindset Program through ELI. And that's more for startups and people who are thinking about starting a business and maybe interested in entrepreneurship. We also have Makerspace Bootcamp, which teaches people, it's a lot for economic development point people or someone in the community that's interested in bringing a makerspace to the community. And then we also have the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge, which we're going to get more into here in a little while. And so that focuses on youth and educating them on entrepreneurship, the mindset, youth retention, and all of those great things.
So Network Kansas has been around for a while. How many communities across Kansas are you in?
So Network Kansas kind of has 2 facets of operations. We do have a statewide referral center, which anyone in our state can access, and it's a free service that's open to the public. And then as far as the e-community partnership, which is more the deep dive with the select communities where they kind of go through the application process in order to be considered an e-community. Right now we have 66 of those across Kansas. Some of them are cities, some of them are counties, some may be like a group of cities within a county. It's however they want to define their community locally.
Oh, that's great. So you let them define their community. That's just awesome. Because I am just in awe. Try that 5 times really quick. Of the Network Kansas network and ability across Kansas, but also the support Network Kansas gets from its communities they serve, because Kansas a while ago went through a process where everything was getting cut and the governor was going across slashing programs and slashing processes, and the community stood up for Network Kansas and said, this is something that we need to save, and don't touch it because it's valuable to us. And that speaks volumes to the service that you're doing for your communities.
Thank you. Yeah, we appreciate hearing that. And we really value the communities that we work with. And all of us on staff really enjoy what we do.
I was going to go back to one of the things that you said for people who are listening or watching either now or later. Can you just touch a little bit on makerspace, just in case that's an unfamiliar term?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to. So maker spaces are sometimes also referred to as fab labs or fabrication laboratory. And it's basically a spot where you have, I'll talk a little bit about the one that we have in Kansas. So what we have going on here is we've got a maker space in Independence, Kansas, and it's run down there at Independence Community College by Jim Carell, who's the director, and he is also our point person for the Montgomery County e-community. Montgomery County is where Independence is located. And so they've got a really excellent fab lab down there, really great makerspace. And he's the one that runs the boot camp for makerspaces, just to kind of show how they went about getting it set up and what they do and how they've had so much success. So basically it's a space where they have tools such as like laser cutter and engraver and things like that, that entrepreneurs can come into the community and use. So they've got a lot of local entrepreneurs down there who are using the equipment in the makerspace to make products or to design marketing things for their business. they've got a whole suite of tools down there that's open to area entrepreneurs that have utilized that to make their business even more successful. And another cool thing that they do down there, I know Jim implements the Ice House entrepreneurship mindset classes in his makerspace. So he's usually always got one of the Ice House classes going that just kind of educates the community on the general, what is entrepreneurship? What is the entrepreneurial mindset? What does it take to run a business? So that education is always going, and it's paired also with the availability of the Fab Lab, which is pretty cool.
Okay, good.
So it would be like a co-op working space.
Yeah, very similar to that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's just so exciting. That may be a newer concept to some communities. So we just it's good to have that frame of reference. Thanks for that.
I want to start diving into youth entrepreneurship because this is the lifeblood of rural communities, and we have said in past shows that it's because of the youth aren't engaged in the community that you are leaving, and we here at Rural Community Solutions don't believe in a brain drain, because if you have the brain drain, the next phrase behind that is you're losing your best and your brightest. Well, if you stay in your rural community, what does that make you if the best and the brightest have left? And so we always say, but you're losing your risk takers, and entrepreneurs are risk takers. And so you want to engage them when they are still in school, when you have them to create the environment in the community that they want to stay, or they can help build that environment and see opportunity before they, go off in their horizons. So on your youth entrepreneurship target, let's start at the beginning and then take a real deep dive into the processes that you do to engage your youth in youth entrepreneurship. Where do you start them? What grades do you start them? And then let's talk about some of the success stories.
Yeah, sounds great. So I will just kind of dive in at the beginning, and just stop me if you have questions, and happy to answer that. So what we do is we have a program called Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge Series. And it's a series of locally organized youth entrepreneurship competitions that run each academic year, and they culminate in a statewide championship each academic year. So this started back in 2013-2014 school year, and it originated in the northwest corner of Kansas. We had a couple e-communities up there that were already engaged in a grassroots effort to grow youth entrepreneurship in their communities. And they reached out to Network Kansas and said, hey, come look at what we're doing. We think maybe this could be scaled statewide. And so we loved that idea and went out there to check that out and kind of figure out how we could eventually scale this to the whole state, which is what we ended up doing. So that first year, there was about 5 competitions just in that corner of the state, and it culminated in a regional championship. Then the next year, we were able to expand it into the southeast corner of the state as well. So we had 2 regional championships. In the third year, we were finally able to get that statewide, had the first state championship, and the program's been growing ever since. We get more and more participation each year. So last year, we had about almost it was just shy of 800 students participate.
Holy mackerel.
So, and
Yeah,
what grades are these?
What's that?
What grades are these?
It's for middle and high school. So the target is 7th through 12th grade, but we've had as young as 6th grade participate in this program.
Do they come up with ideas? Does the committee, like every year, have a focus like this, look for this kind of issue in your community, or is it completely free for all? Bring it all on.
So we leave it up to the communities how they want to structure their local event.
Okay.
To them do it where it's free for all. They can have whatever idea the kid thinks of. But sometimes they do kind of have like a theme or something that they want them to be thinking along the lines of a certain like agriculture or whatever topic they come up with. But usually it is where they can think of any idea of a business that they want to start, and they can submit that into the competition.
Has anything actually grown into a Main Street business or a home-based business, or somebody else has said, hey, I'm snagging that and buying it? And what kind of results have you seen?
Yeah, so we've had some really cool success stories come out of this program, and they're on, I mean, I can't even start to get into all of them, but they're on our website at networkkansas.com. If anybody is listening and would like to go check those out, we have them featured there. But I'll just share a couple of them. So we had a student who was kind of involved from the beginning of the program, and her name is Jade Artzer. She had a business called Made by Jade, and it was a homemade bread mix where it's just a mix, and all you had to do was add a can of soda to it, and then you could bake a loaf of bread. So
wow.
That was her idea, something that she was completely making on her own, selling locally. And so she started really young. I think she was in like 7th grade. And she participated in the YEC program in her local competition every year from about 7th grade to when she graduated high school. And she kept using the same business idea, growing it each year. It expanded to the point where she was selling this product across the I-70 corridor in Kansas. So this was a large geographical area in our state in which she was selling the product. And when she went to college, she actually ended up selling the business. So she was able to make a profit off of that, and that went towards her college tuition. And the business still exists under different ownership. Then we've had a couple of other kids. There was a girl named Bridget Stanton. She had a business called Bridge Digital Marketing, and she won a big prize at the state championship a couple years ago. And she had a digital marketing business where she focused, her main clientele was people in agriculture. So she had a specific niche market. And she, as far as I know, she still operates that business. She took it with her to college, and she uses that to help support also with her tuition and pay for college as well. So, and then one more, I'll do one more because this one I think is really cool. Just a couple years ago, there was 2 students up in Republic County, which is one of our northernmost counties in Kansas, who submitted a business idea at their local event called Otter Creek Farm. And they won a prize at the local event, went on to the state event, won money there. So they had a really great business idea. The girl involved in the business, her name was Jenna. She ended up actually buying a piece of land in Republic County and actually opening the farm there. So she had a building and everything, a physical location, which was really neat.
That is really super. We
Wow.
we need to learn from you. One of the processes we have is helping kids in school develop those business ideas, incubate them in the school, and then, hopefully they'll spin out into businesses beyond graduation. So you have some great success stories for that. That is just awesome.
And then how to get the community to support and take seriously those kids, because, a lot of times what we run into is working with the community, and they say they work with the school, but the only thing they're doing is maybe showing up at football or basketball games, or they'll donate to the school, they'll go to a spaghetti supper or something like that of the school, and they say, yeah, we support our kids all the time. But when you really dig down to it and you talk to the kids, they don't feel like they're involved in the community, or even they're wanted in the community, because sometimes kid will be walking down the street, an adult will walking towards them, and the adult will cross the street so they don't intermix with the kids. So
right.
The whole environment out there that we really have to shift if we're specifically with rural communities, and how they want to grow if they're going to accept their youth.
One of the things that communities just scream about, Amara, is that their kids leave. They go off to college and then they don't come back. So what sort of experiences have you seen from your work with either VentureDash or the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge? What's happened with your kids and population in the communities where those challenges have taken place? Has it resulted in population growth, returning, anything like that?
So far we don't have, or we haven't really researched into actual numbers on population growth, but one of the main tenets of our program is to help kids feel more connected to their local community.
Mhm.
So one of the main focuses of the YEC series is to not only instill the entrepreneurial mindset in them, kind of get them thinking outside of the box, and thinking about how to start their own business, but it's also to help them feel connected to the community. So we want them to know that they can be successful in their home community, that they don't have to move away to a big city in order to open a business. It's something that they can do right here. So one of the ways that we've seen that really be fulfilled is through the partnership with the schools. So, when you were talking about them not really getting involved with the schools, that really is so key. And what we've been really blessed to see is two things. We have a lot of e-community point people they're the ones that are organizing this event. They're really connected to their community and really are hands-on with the schools. And then another thing is our teachers. We're just really fortunate to have so many amazing teachers involved in this program. And we actually call them teacher champions because they're champions of entrepreneurship. And so we have a lot of teachers that are really dedicated to teaching the kids that they can be successful in their hometown, that they don't have to leave. And so I think finding the right teacher is really key. And we have some teachers that do some really cool things with the kids. I know I can think of one example. A teacher in Hillsboro, Kansas takes the kids every year on a walk through the downtown Main Street, and it's an empty building tour where they kind of go and they look at the buildings that are available in the community. And they also have conversations on this walk about what kind of things do you think the community needs? What are that could be filled, or what are problems we have that you could solve? So it's kind of telling them, that they can do that. They have the power to do that. They can do that right there in their hometown and just help. And that makes them feel more connected and lets them know that there are things that they have the power to do right here and now.
So then after that walk and they have all those ideas generated, do they then connect those back to the community leaders or just a community, the people, so they at least have that information of what the kids are talking about?
Yeah, so a lot of the communities, it's really popular. What they do is they'll have community mentors come into the classroom. So it could be like a local entrepreneur or a banker or the chamber person or some key person in the community. They'll get a lineup of mentors for those key movers and shakers from the community to kind of take turns coming into the classroom, talking to the kids and mentoring them about how they could grow their business ideas.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, you talk about and you get excited about how you connect the youth in the community. What's VentureDash? I mean, that's a new concept to me. So what's that VentureDash? What happens there?
So VentureDash is a new product that Network Kansas released in July of 2020. So what that is it's we call it the best way to run a business competition. It's an online tool that communities can use to plan, organize, and execute a local entrepreneurship competition. So if somebody was thinking of implementing like a Shark Tank type of thing or a YEC type of competition, they could use VentureDash to plan and execute that competition. So it's an online platform that's available. GoVentureDash.com is where you can find that and check out how it works.
Wow! So that's to anybody in the world. Anybody in the world can access that.
Yeah, it's open for anyone in the U.S. to use. So we definitely encourage you to check that out. It's got a lot of things in there. So I can kind of get into some of our history with how we came about to develop that. Basically, with our experience with all of these local YEC competitions, we've talked to a lot of people that are organizing youth competitions and kind of became aware of some of the needs that they had during this planning process. But then we went even deeper with it. And in 2017, Network Kansas was the one that organized the state championship for the kids. So normally after that, we began a partnership with K-State where they do all of the work on the state championship. But this one year, we actually organized, planned, and executed everything ourselves. So we got kind of a front row seat into how difficult that can be. Because we had the championship took place in Hays, Kansas at Fort Hays. So all of our staff traveled there, and it was a lot of bins of pens and paper and spreadsheets and tons of emails and everything that went into organizing this event. So we kind of started thinking to ourselves, well, how can we establish a tool that lets people organize these events a lot easier with everything in one place online? So we started to build a proprietary tool that we called the YEC portal. And that was just something that we built in-house. We had an employee that had a lot of technical skills that built this for us, and it was just very rudimentary. And so it worked really well for what it was, but eventually we outgrew it and we started thinking, we need an actual software company to design an even bigger and better tool for our communities. So that's where we started building VentureDash. We worked with a software developer. They're called Moonbase Labs that are based out of Wichita, Kansas. And so we worked with them in partnership on developing VentureDash. And so what it is we've got a planning timeline that kind of walks you through the steps of planning a competition from start to finish. We have a resource library that's got a ton of examples and advice on how to develop materials for your event. And then we also have a full scoring system. So the main thrust of what this is that you register all sorts of users on VentureDash. So you create a competition, and then you have students register, you have judges, and you have your mentors get registered in there as well. So then the students can submit their materials, and the judges will enter the scores directly into VentureDash. And it comes up with this leaderboard where you see everybody start to finish based on their scores and their ranking in the competition. So it's just a one-stop shop basically for you to run your competition.
Wow.
That's a really wonderful hands-on support mechanism, especially if people aren't familiar with it. Like sounds like a great idea. How in the world am I going to do that?
Right.
That's just a really helpful aid and technique and tool. So that's great.
So now I see the only state that you really want to help is Hawaii, because then you can be hands-on and take all the spreadsheets and everything else and the staff over to Hawaii and help them build it.
Yes, I have been to Hawaii and I can confirm I would be happy to go back anytime.
There you go. I want to rewind just a little bit. One of the things that we really promote in Rural Community Solutions is what we've observed is that in communities, often it is the kids who maybe are a little bit ornery, get into a little bit of trouble, aren't the STEM and STEAM kids, but they have great ideas. You said you hadn't done any stats on collecting, who's staying around or returning, but have you done any observation about who gets involved in these challenges? Are there kids who maybe kind of live on the other side of the tracks who are involved in this, or do you really see that it is primarily the higher achieving students?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that because that's a really good question. We've had a very broad range of students that have been involved in YEC.
Good.
The teachers usually, but not always, usually they will make it a required project for their class. So that's a way to get kids involved, but sometimes it's not. And then as far as whether it's mainly STEM or entrepreneurship or business kids that are involved in this, it's really everything. We have some of our teacher champions who are, the most passionate about entrepreneurship and do a fantastic job implementing this in their community. Some of them aren't even business teachers.
Mm-hmm.
We have, I'll just give one example because we have several I can think of, but one example is a teacher up in Norton, Kansas. Her name is Erin Manning. She does a fantastic job with their local event, really passionate about entrepreneurship, a great mentor to the kids. She is a computer applications teacher. And so she makes this a a required project for her class, so the kids have to do it for a grade. And they also, the way that she ties it back into entrepreneurship is they get their grade for their computer applications based on the marketing materials that they design for their business. So that's kind of how she ties that back into computer applications, how that ties in with the entrepreneurship aspect. We've got other teachers that teach things like English. So maybe their grading emphasis is more on the written executive summary that the kids provide, or maybe a math teacher might have more emphasis on the financials. But there are a lot of creative ways that we've seen this implemented in the communities.
Yeah, we've got a model entrepreneurship school that's still on the drawing board and everything, but it takes classes from 7 to 12, and it integrates into every single subject. You're building your business plan. So in English, you're writing your marketing plan, or in business, you're writing your marketing plan. In math, you're looking at your budgets and all that. But it takes it from 0 to 100, and it ingrains it into your school program. And it's just so. Anyway, that's my passion coming out of an entrepreneur coming out. So your work with the Department of Economic Development and state agencies of workforce and kind of the state agencies in the professional realm of economic development. How has the professional economic development community in Kansas embraced entrepreneurship as a permanent, if you will, economic development, wealth creation activity rather than recruiting?
Right. So at least with our work in e-community partnership, a lot of the work that we do with the communities is at the local level. So it's not really like a statewide umbrella of economic development, but it's local. So it could be like an economic development director, chamber director, or any other similar role. But still, we see that there's quite a community in Kansas where people come together and exchange ideas for how they can make their community better. And I think that entrepreneurship and the entrepreneurial mindset and entrepreneurship development and those kinds of things are really on everybody's radar here, which is a really cool thing to see. And I'm speaking at least in our e-community partnership, we have so many people that are just very, very passionate about entrepreneurship and see it as a viable community development tool. So I think it's been really cool for me to see, at least in my position.
That's great, because the transition into the traditional economic development role into building from without and then going into within and building up. That's a very important transition, and one that we help promote and do promote when we work with communities too. So
I'm just really glad to hear that kids from all walks of life and all economic homes, that they're all a part of this. What we find is often in rural communities, it's the kids who don't have the same advantages are the ones who stay behind, and they're the ones who become your mayors and your school board members and your city council and your church boards and things like that. And we need to see them as leaders just as much as we see the top of the class and work with those kids. So that's really exciting that the challenge and the entrepreneurship focus does include all walks of life for children and their families. That's really cool.
Yeah, thank you. And that's something that we're very passionate about. We want it to be inclusive. We want everybody to participate as much as they can. I'm sure you guys are probably the same in your state, but there's a lot of discussion, generally about the rural versus urban kind of division there. One thing that we're really proud of is that we have YEC in rural and urban schools, and we actually started in rural communities. It's not something where we just started, in the big cities and then, eventually we got it out to rural communities. But no, we actually started in the most rural parts of our state and expanded it eventually into the urban and bigger areas. So something that we're proud of.
Wow.
That's great. Well, we are looking forward to working more with Network Kansas, and kind of as a we're distant cousins, sort of speak, is because we're very good partners, and we have a partnership with E2 Entrepreneurial Ecosystems, which is housed at Network Kansas, and Don Mackey's the vice president of Entrepreneurship Ecosystems, works within Network Kansas. So in a way, we're just all connected.
All on the same team and speaking the same language and have the same kinds of passionate desires to grow communities and lots of wonderful opportunities for the future for our students.
So Amara, if people want more information, how can they? We have it's networkkansas.com. Is that the email address? That's the correct one. Okay, so they can go there. How else can they get information that you talked about today?
Yes. So about our programs and specifically YEC series, go to networkkansas.com and there's a youth tab on that website. So you could go and check that out. If you're interested in using VentureDash for a business competition, it's goventuredash.com. And so you'll see on there how it works and all of our pricing and such. We do want to say with VentureDash, it's COVID right now has just presented so many barriers to a lot of communities. So please reach out. We're still new and we're doing kind of flexible pricing. So if pricing listed on the site is a barrier to you, we don't want it to be that way. So just reach out to us and we can kind of discuss what might work for you. And we're happy to do that. You can also get in touch with me directly at Kniep. So it's my first initial and last name at networkkansas.com. And I'd welcome anybody reaching out.
Oh, that's great. And
we're so glad that you joined us today, Amara. What wonderful programs and processes you have developed at Network Kansas through the time that you all have been together and focusing on entrepreneurship as a development opportunity for your state.
Yeah, and we're so thankful that you wrapped up National Entrepreneurship Week with us as the process. We don't even like to call them programs because they're all processes of how you can build. And but the one most important process a community can do is a program with your youth to get them engaged within your community. So we really appreciate your time, and we thank you for being our guest.
We welcome you back at a future time. You stick with us and we'll be right back. So thank you so much for joining us today. We're just grateful that Amara Kniep has been with us from Network Kansas and talked about all of the wonderful things that they are doing with the Youth Entrepreneurship Challenge and VentureDash and working with students. They have all kinds of great ideas. So if you haven't tapped into yours yet, we'd really encourage you to do so.
So come back next week or come back any Monday through Friday at 11:30 a.m. Central Date or not daylight time. Not yet.
I know the sun's
close.
shining.
We're close. I'm trying to move that calendar towards spring. You know,
spring's coming.
Central Time, Monday through Friday here on our YouTube channel, or you can go to the Facebook page at Rural Community Solutions, or you can even catch the podcast because we turn our video cast into a podcast that you have just audio only, so you can listen to this at anchor.fm/Frank Spillers, and it's Think Like an Entrepreneur, Become a Spark Plug, and you can catch every episode as a podcast. So go there and catch it, and come back next week as we continue to build communities, build people that create the environments that support an entrepreneurial economy within your community and within your business. So we want to thank you for coming.
Yes.
I'm Frank Spillers.
And I'm Kim Spillers on behalf of Rural Community Solutions. We wish you a fabulous weekend.
Bye.